Welcome to Dodgers Dawgs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. Casey Porter here. So glad that you decided to tune in. Flying solo today. Austin's at work. Coach Holt is in Arkansas. Coach Barracos at work. Contacted a couple of other people. They are at work because we have day games here. Going to be a 3 o'clock start Pacific time, 5 o'clock start my time. The second and hopefully last day game of the playoffs for the Dodgers, a day in which the Dodgers have a chance to win the National League pennant. What a day it is. What a night it was last night. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about David Peterson, who is in the starting lineup as far as the pitcher today for the Mets. We're going to talk about the lineup for the Dodgers that they put in against him. Second day in a row with no Gavin Lux in the lineup. That is because of the left-handed pitching factor of that. Freddie Freeman is back in the lineup. Coach Holt nailed that. You give him the day off, and then you play him right in front of the off day, so you have play and then off, play off. So every other day, the way that the Dodgers are doing it, they're giving Freddie Freeman 1 day to rest that ankle. And then if you can win tonight or today, this afternoon, whatever you want to call it, and then the Cleveland Guardians go ahead and win game 2 of that ALCS, now you're tied 2-2, and you could have as many as 3 games remaining and have close to a week where you didn't have to play, and that would give Freddie – I know it would be rough for some of the timing. The Dodgers have already dealt with this. They came out and played well in the first game against the Padres off of that long layoff. I think that would be something that would be comforting for Dodgers fans to know they've already done it. But more so than anything, I think that would give Freddie Freeman time to rest his pitching left. One thing that usually makes it very difficult, whether it be a tournament and you get into the loser's bracket, or it be like the 7-game series here to where you're down 3-1. One reason why usually it's so difficult for teams to come back is you just don't have enough pitching to make yourselves all the way back, to get all the way back. That is not the case with the New York Mets. I assure you, they have plenty of pitching to where if they start playing solid defense, they start taking advantage of their scoring opportunities like they didn't last night. This is a Mets team that can beat the Dodgers 3 games in a row. So no time to get cocky. No time. I don't say that to strike fear in anybody. I just say that to say this is no time to get cocky. This is no time to take anything for granted. This is no time to take your foot off the pedal, take the gas, let off the gas, and let the Mets have any kind of momentum, because like I said, they do have the pitching that can withstand these last 3 games and win the last 3. Having said that, the Dodgers have absolutely all the momentum. You got to love the fact that Dave has been super aggressive, the way that John Smoltz put it last night. The same thing that we've been saying. We've been calling it aggressive. We've been calling it going for the jugular. We've been calling it making decisions based on your trust tree. We've been trying to find all these ways to put it. I think John Smoltz put it the best, that the Dodgers are trying to win, and they're trying to do it as fast as they can every game. In other words, put the jugular on the game in the 5th or 6th inning and then make the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings less high leverage. They have been able to do that. We saw them do that in Game 4 of the NLDS against the Padres in that bullpen game. That was an elimination game for the Dodgers. We've seen them do it a couple of times against the Mets. And then another thing the Dodgers have been doing, Shohei Ohtani hit the home run last night to give the Dodgers a lead. Mookie Betts hit the home run the night before. But even after Mark Vientos tied it up with his home run last night, the Dodgers were the next team to score. So not only are they scoring first, which they're winning close to 90% of their games, win scoring first. I know it was 83% last time I checked, and I don't think they've lost a game since they've scored first since then, or maybe just 1 or 2 games. So that percentage has to have gone up. So they've won well over 80% of the games they scored first. But more so than that, they've continued to score. That's one of the things, the complaints that I think a lot of Dodgers fans have had in the past, and they've been very valid, is that the Dodgers score a bunch of runs in 1 inning, and then they go 5-6 innings and then don't score hardly at all. We did see that one game against the Mets, but having said that, or not the Mets, but against the Padres, having said that, the Dodgers offense has been consistent. It's been dynamic. Just like last night, the Dodgers had 3 hits on curveballs in consecutive at-bats. They walked twice around that, and they were able to put up a crooked number without hitting a home run. Now, the home runs are great, no doubt about it. You got to have both. So you can't just say, hey, we need home runs, or you can't also say, well, we don't want to even hit home runs. We just want to try to generate baseball. You got to have both. So the teams that can be like, have the Max Muncy, who's on base 13 times in a row because he can walk. The teams that can get base hits like Tommy Edman, move runners, hit sac flies like we've seen him do, bunt runners in like we've seen both him and Gavin Lux do, right? The teams that can do all of it, mainly just put the ball in play, execute the game of baseball, and then also hit home runs, those are the teams that continue to advance, which means you can't be one trick. You can't be a one-trick pony like the Dodgers have been in the past. You've got to be a complete offense. We've been saying that for so many years. I call it being dynamic, and it just feels like, I don't want to get too overconfident here, it just feels like the Dodgers have finally put together that complete offense, because I'll tell you what, they're doing very well, and yet, although Freddie Freeman, when he's been in there, has been okay offensively, he wasn't in there last night, right? And then Teo Hernandez isn't hitting the ball very well right now. Will Smith isn't hitting the ball well right now. So there is even a better version, as well as the Dodgers are playing, there still, in my opinion, is a better version of this Dodgers offense out there. And if the Dodgers just somehow could hit like a 5-6 game streak, I really don't think we've even seen this all year, to where maybe a couple of times to where like everything clicked. Everybody in the offense clicked. Ohtani's doing what he does. Mookie Betts is clicking. Freddie Freeman's clicking. Finally, Will Smith and Max Muncy. Not only is Max walking, he's also getting base hits. Teo gets back into it. Then the bottom of your lineup continues to execute. I don't think we've seen a 5 or 6 game stretch all year where the Dodgers have just all clicked at once. Now, what makes a great team is that, okay, you have a couple guys struggling, and then these other guys in the other parts of your lineup make up for it, and so it balances each other out. That's what makes a deep lineup, and that's what makes teams that can be consistent, and that's one of the biggest reasons why the Dodgers stayed pretty consistent throughout the year, even though there was so much turnover and all that kind of stuff going on, is because they had enough balance, they had enough depth to where if a couple guys went cold, you had a couple of other guys going hot at the same time. They balanced each other out. What we would all like to see as a Dodgers fan, one time, come on, baby, one time, let's put together, like even better than what we've had, a 5 or 6 game stretch to where every single hitter in the lineup is hot all at the same time. Pitching continues to do its thing. Bullpen continues to be dominant, and let's go win a freaking World Series. Let's have a parade, and let's have a good time. But to do all that, first thing you got to do is you got to beat the Mets today. So that is goal number 1, and it will not be easy. Jack Flaherty, you had a really nice game against the Mets in Week 1. He is taking on David Peterson. We're going to jump into David Peterson and some of the things he is going to present the Dodgers here in a minute. But we already have a great crowd logging in on Dodgers Dawgs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. Sammy Boy Smith, I know, hey, this is a tough one because everybody's at work right now, so it's very tough to get tuned in and get away. I know even a lot of hosts of the Dodgers shows had a hard time getting off work, and if it wasn't fall break for me, I wouldn't be able to do this at the moment. So I understand it's tough, but if you have any friends that are available, or they just want to maybe turn it down real low at work, tell them Dodgers Dawgs is on, tell them to log on, and tell them to get on over here, and let's have some fun talking Dodgers baseball. Sammy Boy Smith, the Mets go through long, hot, and cold streaks, and right now they're cold and won't let up until they outed today, or Game 6. They were red hot since August. Let's hope they stay cold. One more game. Let's get the heck out of New York. It would be nice to clinch this in front of the Los Angeles fans. Not for me. In this thing now, the Mets are way too dangerous of a team. You mentioned Sammy Boy Smith. They have way too much potential to go hot all of a sudden. And when they go hot, man, you can be in trouble, especially with, and I know the Dodgers gave Quintana fits last night, the way that they took pitches. I think today will be somewhat similar, not exactly a carbon copy. We'll get into that more here in a little bit as far as David Peterson goes. But they have way too much pitching. They have way too much potential, as Sammy Boy Smith is saying here, to get hot easily for 3 games. Got to continue to go for the jugular, continue to be aggressive, continue to try to win games as fast as you can. Get a lead, add to the lead, shut it down with your bullpen, right? I mean, like Michael Pacheco said the other day, get a lead, add to the lead, and then start counting outs. That's been the formula for the Dodgers. Hey, Cole, thank you so much for joining. I really like this kid, Kasparius. I think he makes the 2025 opening roster. What do you think? I don't think there's any doubt about it. Ben Kasparius, the thing about him, I know for a fact that the people inside of the Dodgers system, one thing they really like about him is that they have worked really hard to refine his mix. I know I've said this many different times, but Ben Kasparius is a guy that he went to North Carolina, and when he went to North Carolina, he was a position player. Matter of fact, he was a shortstop, right? And he still, if he wanted to, he could be a professional position player. That's how good at baseball Ben Kasparius is. He's the River Ryan. Maybe not quite the elite athlete of River Ryan, but he was a very good offensive player. He was a very good defender at shortstop at North Carolina. He just chose to pitch because he has all this nasty breaking stuff. So he ends up transferring back to Connecticut, UConn, because one of the big reasons, actually the first time I got to talk to him, 2019, Tom Penders and his UConn crew actually came to Oklahoma State. There was a bunch of rain. This was for the 2019 regionals. There was a bunch of rain in Stillwater. Old LEP Reynolds Stadium did not drain well. Oklahoma State since has built a $60 million facility. Oh, great. So they actually had to move the regional to Oklahoma City at Bricktown, where the AAA team for the Dodgers organization, the baseball club, they're actually going to announce their new branding on the 26th of this month. I'm very excited about that. So UConn comes to Oklahoma City, Bricktown, the 2019 regionals, and they just play like crazy, man. They make it to the regional finals. Oklahoma State beats them. OSU was very good that year. But anyways, it was a great team. They had 3 or 4 guys that I think are major leaguers at this point. And so that team right there really kind of drew Ben back to UConn. He loved Coach Penders. He wanted to come back home to UConn. So he comes to UConn, and he has all this great stuff, right? He's got this slider that's just off the charts. He's got this cutter. He's got a curveball. He's got a change. He's got all this stuff. But his fastball is like 92, 93, 94, and it's not really a centerpiece, right? And so he works and he works and he works. He refines. He does this. He adds this pitch. He eliminates that pitch. He ends up getting drafted by the Dodgers, and then he has the last week he is at Rancho. He's actually the California League Pitcher of the Week. He goes to Great Lakes. He has good success. He gets to Tulsa, not this last year, but the year before. And to be honest with you, he throws better than he ever has. And simply put, the results just didn't show it. If you go back to the receipts of all my shows back then, I'll tell you one thing. I kept saying Ben Kasparius is throwing better than he ever has. The results aren't showing it, but eventually they will. So he continued on with it, and he comes into this year. All of a sudden now the fastball is hitting 98. So the fastball is caught up with the off-speed stuff. Now he can centerpiece that fastball, which only makes that slider that much better. And that's now the final product that Dodgers fans are seeing for him. And I've said this a couple of times. He was going to get called up in June until he got placed on the IL. It was a tough break for him. I talked to him in August, and he was like, and he hadn't made his major league debut at that point, and he's a little bit bummed out about that. I don't think there was any doubt he would have already made his major league debut by then if he hadn't have got hurt. So he just kept grinding, got his opportunity, And now Dodgers fans are seeing the final product, which is pretty damn good. Now, of course, he's thrown in some pretty low leverage situations. I understand all that, but he's still done a great job of eating. The only thing he can do is knock down the innings he's given, and he has absolutely done that. Another guy that we're talking about as far as young guys that have lively arms, Stefan says Edgardo Henriquez. Yes, very lively arm. You're not seeing the 104 like we've seen in the past. A lot of that is, you got to remember, he's coming off of Tommy John. He's literally coming off of Tommy John last year, did not pitch at all in 2023. He started in single A. The spring breakout game, he was throwing the ball over 100 miles an hour, and everybody's like, oh, dang. He's a former starter that's been converted to the bullpen, which allows his stuff to play up. And so I'm sure there's a lot of fatigue. And then, to be honest with you, also, not going to lie about it, I think there's a lot of nerves. I mean, Edgardo Henriquez, you got to remember, he's never been anywhere close to, and I know that the innings he's throwing are low leverage, but still, even said that, he's never been in anything close to this in terms of expectations, environment, and situations as far as needing to have to come up with results. So he's working through some nerves. He's working to gain confidence in higher leverage situations. And I'll be honest with you, the Dodgers have handled him perfectly from start to finish. Super excited about Edgardo Henriquez, no doubt about it. Nando390, thank you so much for joining. Hey, if the Dodgers win tonight, the rest will be great, but will the days off kill momentum? I don't know if the Dodgers have momentum or if they just are a really damn good team, right? So, like, yeah, I mean, Teo's not hitting the ball really well right now. Will's not hitting the ball well right now. Mookie Betts had a great game last night. Shohei Ohtani's just kind of being Shohei Ohtani. Tommy Edman's just kind of being Tommy Edman, right? And so, and Kike Hernandez is just clutch in the postseason, period, end of discussion. Doesn't matter when or what. So, I honestly, this streak with the Mets here doesn't feel like momentum. Even the last two games against the Padres didn't really feel like momentum. It just felt like, to me, the Dodgers are a very complete team. It felt to me like they were the better team, and they were just proving that. So when you say, will it kill their momentum? Yes, the layoff, it's never good in baseball to go 7 days without seeing game-like environments. I've talked to several of these guys about this. Yeah, you can throw sim games. Yeah, you can take live BP against minor leaguers. You can do all that. You can enter squad scrimmage. It is not anywhere as close to playing against the Padres in an NLDS or playing against anybody in the World Series, especially if it's going to be New York. So, yes, I think you would be lying to yourself if you didn't say, hey, yeah, I would like to see that series go 7 games over there in the American League, but I'm a little bit worried about what the 7-day layoff would do. I don't think it would kill momentum, but I do think it would break rhythms, if that makes any sense. That's probably just semantics. Use whatever semantics you want to use. So I think that is a very, very, very good point. Hey, Stefan says, I heard Rojas has hernia, getting surgery in the offseason. Big moment for him. They are hungry. Yeah, I'm hungry, says Anthony Chanavok. Anthony Chanavok. I think I said that right. Anthony, if I said that right, go ahead and leave me a comment. If not, type that out exactly like phonically it would sound. I would love to get your name right. Stefan, we knocked out Quintana. He's quality. He is quality. I will say this, and I said this. I've got receipts of it from our pregame yesterday. Quintana's a guy that relies on the other team chasing the zone, especially on his breaking pitches, and the Dodgers are the absolute world's best at doing that. The only time I can remember where it was egregious, where we mentioned this in the postgame last night, where the Dodgers got a little too antsy and swung at a pitch down the zone that they shouldn't have, was Andy Pages in his first at bat, where he hit, I believe, as a weak ground ball. But other than that, I mean, the Dodgers are the best team I've ever seen in my life at staying disciplined to a game plan of not swinging at pitches that are not in the strike zone. Now, sometimes, like Tommy Edman, strike out in the first inning. Sometimes with Will Smith, we see this. They take some pitches that they could have hit. That's the trade-off, but I think it is a positive trade-off. That is Chonchavok. Okay, thank you, Anthony, for spelling that out phonetically. So Anthony Chonchavok, thank you very much. Very much so. All Dodgers fans are very, very hungry. No doubt about that. So what Quintana does well is also what the Dodgers do well offensively. So the fascinating chess match to that was whose strengths are going to win out. Is it going to be the strength of Quintana to work the periphery of the strike zone? And then because he's working the periphery, the Dodgers not be able to tell if that's on the black or a couple of inches off. They need to not swing. The Dodgers ended up winning that matchup. The Dodgers waited him out. They got him frustrated, and they just absolutely beat Jose Quintana. No doubt about it. I think Quintana did a good job of trying to execute. The Dodgers just outwilled him. Now, when you talk about David Peterson, similar setups in the sense that another ground ball pitcher. But when you talk about ground balls, there's a distinct difference here. Okay, and this is what's going to be kind of interesting to me. When you're talking about ground balls for him, you're talking about mainly that being with one pitch, and that is his sinker. Now, his sinker is a pitch that he throws more than any other pitch, and it's going to be moving away from right-handers. And it is also a pitch that he throws. It's a pitch that he throws in the zone a lot. So I could really see this sinker. Matter of fact, he throws a sinker in the zone almost 60% of the time. And then whenever you look at, if I can scroll back down here, if you look at what he does with it, he also gets 64% ground balls. So he likes to move the sinker inside of the strike zone. That's the difference between, in my opinion, between Peterson and Quintana, is that Peterson's going to keep that sinker inside the strike zone. So the Dodgers aren't going to be able to have a game plan of just saying, to hell with it, we're not swinging at it. We're going to make him prove that it can actually throw strikes with it on the periphery, because he will. And if you do that, and if that's your game plan, you're going to be behind in the count all day long as a hitter, and you're going to be on your heels. So, and I'll tell you another thing, David Peterson, he's done both relief. He's done quite a bit of starting pitching in his career. This is a guy that can have success against the Dodgers. I promise you. He worries me. His way, his ability to, so to me, this, you can say old school, new school. I call it the right school. You know, in today's day and age, when hitters started uppercutting with all this launch angle stuff, they started elevating their swings. Pitchers started throwing that four seam to the top of the zone because that was the hole in everybody's swing, right? So now hitters have had to catch up with that, so they flatten their swing. So guess what's effective again? Going back to the way it used to be, where instead of throwing high riding four seams, now you throw a sinker that has good movement, that instead of missing the entire bat, you're just missing the barrel. I could see David Peterson throwing almost exclusively sinkers, an occasional high riding four seam just to show it. So show the four seam at the top of the zone to get back to the two seam to the bottom of the zone that's moving away from right-handers in on the lefty's hands. That is also, here's the big deal, that is also in the strike zone. And so because of that, the Dodgers have to swing at it, because if you don't swing at that sinker that moves off to the periphery of the zone in the zone, now you're going to be having to hit his slider. And his slider is a really, really, really good pitch, no doubt about it. His slider and his changeup, they get a lot of ground balls. Matter of fact, he gets over 50% ground balls with his slider and his changeup as well. Okay, so the thing about his slider is that it provides depth. So he's going to have the high rider with the four seam. He's going to have depth on the slider. He's going to have a left turn with the sinker. And for the most part, as we look at how all this goes, he is going to be able to do it while also throwing strikes, okay? So when you look at his four seam is in the zone over 50% of the time. Not at an extremely high rate, but he is at that magical rate that I talk about a lot. right around 60% with his best fastball pitch. His best fastball is that sinker. So I really worry about the Dodgers having to swing at a sinker and having soft contact on it. I think there's a little bit different of a game plan to that. And then I will say this. I know this is, quote unquote, a bullpen game, but David Peterson has the ability, and I'm going over all the worst case scenarios here. Keep in mind, I think the Dodgers, if they definitely, Jack Flaherty can come out and shove. The Dodgers could also ambush a couple of those four seams and sinkers and come out and score 5 or 6 runs and be just fine. That obviously could happen too. I'm just covering both sides of it. So if you're worried about this and you're a Mets fan, I'm kind of going over that scenario. What could happen to cause the Dodgers to have issues tonight? Maybe things to look out for. If the Dodgers are forced to swing at that sinker pitch because they don't want to get behind in the count and have to swing at the slider and the changeup of David Peterson, then at that point, I could see the Dodgers hitting a lot of balls off the end of the barrel for right-handers. I could see the Dodgers hitting the ball in on the fist on that sinker, in on the fist to lefties. And I could see some quick outs, right? And that's worst case scenario, because if David Peterson is able to control his pitch count like Jose Quintana was not able to yesterday and get a lot of quick outs with his sinker, I promise you they will ride him as far as they can possibly go. This guy, he's a quasi-starter type guy, and I think he could give them plenty of depth into this game. So those are all the things that I worry about as a Dodgers fan. Having said that, on the other side of this, hey, and we have a great crowd logging in. Marv Larson, thank you so much for joining. Marv says, finish this today. If Cleveland can win today and Dodgers win today, then our pitching staff gets 3 days of rest. Hey, Cole says Quintana is only quality against teams that chase 100%. We've covered that. Dodger Blue 82, the Mets front office already prepping the thank you videos. I hope so. No doubt about that. Mike Lopez, this has Dynasty written all over it. Stefan, ended tonight. Freddie got a little healthier too. Yeah, so on the other side, you got Jack Flaherty. And I think one thing that really helps Jack Flaherty against the Mets, that I think made him struggle against the Padres, at least struggle more, is that you can put the Mets away. We've seen this. I said this before the series started. I've mentioned it several different times. The Mets hitters, once they get to 2 strikes, you can put them away. So what have been some of his issues? Certainly against the Padres. He's had no problem getting to 2 strikes, right? His problem was putting hitters away, and even a little bit even against the Mets in his last start, because the Padres are so good with 2 strikes, changing their approach, becoming contact-oriented, and gathering base hits, not chasing the zone, that kind of thing. I think Jack Flaherty's a lot the same. I think his breaking ball is one that when you have a team that will chase, I think he can get ahead in the count with his good fastball. Then he has more of an ability to put Mets hitters away with 2 strikes with his breaking ball that doesn't have to challenge the zone. I thought that was a good formula for him last time out. And I'll tell you another thing about Jack Flaherty. Totally different situation because you're on the road. But keep in mind, I mean, being in Chicago, he's been to New York and before, right? But a different situation. You're not in Los Angeles, you are in New York. But I'll say this about Jack Flaherty. It felt like to me, and there were a couple of sequences to where, there's a couple of pitches in the game. Sometimes you call them as a pitching coach just to see how well your pitcher has his nerves under control. You're like, okay, well, I want to see just how well their nerves are right now. I'm going to call this pitch not because I think it's necessarily a great pitch to throw, just because I think it's a hard pitch to throw. And if this guy can execute that pitch in this situation, that tells me that his nerves are locked in right now. He's in control of his nerves, and I have free reign to call whatever the heck I want. There are times when coaches that call pitches do that, just kind of as a heat check for the nerves of their pitcher. There were a couple times where Jack Flaherty threw some breaking balls in some difficult situations and just absolutely threw the best pitches of the night with them. And that right there showed me that he totally had his nerves under control. So I thought more so than any other outing, obviously his execution was great. Mark Pryor was great. Will Smith, who, by the way, isn't hitting, but he's done just such a fantastic job of doing exactly what a catcher's supposed to do in terms of their first job, and that is handle the pitching staff. Will Smith has done a great job of that. Of all of those things that Jack Flaherty did last time out, with all of those execution factors, I think the one thing that impressed me the most was his composure. And why is that important? Because no matter how good you pitch, just like last night, no matter, 10-2, you think it's an easy game. Well, I guarantee you that there were a couple of moments last night that, you had the home run that looked like the fly ball that looked like it was going to be a home run. There were 2 or 3 different crisis moments that if they go the other way, instead of the Dodgers winning 10-2, the Mets might have won like 8-4. Right? That's how big those 1 or 2 crisis moments can be. So why is composure? Why am I going back to, I think, the one thing I was most impressed with Jack Flaherty with his last outing? Why am I going back to that? Because you're going to be in New York. These people are going to be right on top of you. It's going to be an intimidating environment. And Jack Flaherty's going to have crisis moments. And in those crisis moments, he's going to have to make pitches that maybe aren't the just standard pitch for the, like if it's a 3-1 count, you just throw a cookie fastball. He might have to throw a slider or a curveball in that scenario. And the only way that can work is if his nerves are under control. And then also, one thing the Dodgers have done really, really well, other than the one game with the Padres, and then obviously the Landon Knack grand slam he gave up, is that they have limited big innings. So the way that if your nerves aren't under control and you start all of a sudden either trying to overthrow your fastball and or you can't locate your breaking ball, so you're down to like a one-pitch pitcher in that moment, right? That's how things snowball on you. That's how it goes from scoring maybe 1 run in a crisis moment for the other team, to that other team putting up, like we've seen the Dodgers do, a 5 or 6 spot, and now you're out of the game, right? So there's going to be a couple of moments like that, like there always are for every pitcher. We will see how Jack Flaherty handles the huge environment of New York, if he can be as composed as he was last game. Hey, Stephon, Blue will have home field advantage all the way now. Yep, they absolutely will. Well, hey, Mike Lopez, I think we're having a chat back and forth here. Stephon up 3-1, gives a little breathing room. Should be loose, yes. I hope, Stephon, I totally agree with you with that sentiment. I hope they don't change a thing, though. But I'll say this. You talk to Will Smith or you listen to Will Smith, even whenever they were facing elimination against the Padres, down 2-1 in that series, they were very loose even going into that game with a bullpen game there. So I think when you say loose, normally I would say no, stay focused. No, stay with the gas pedal down. Don't look up. You got to stay just laser focused. That's normally what I would say, but I would agree with you in this situation, Stephon. Stay loose, but not because the Dodgers are up 3-1, but because that's how the Dodgers have approached every single game this offseason. Even in the face of elimination where everybody was doubting them, the Dodgers have been able to stay loose. So I think that's been part of their mojo. So I would agree from that aspect, not the up 3-1 aspect, but from that aspect that, yes, the Dodgers absolutely do 100% need to stay loose. Hey, Mike Lopez, thank you so much for joining. And, hey, get on the phone. Let's get a good conversation going. I am by myself. I promise I know the last couple of games, Coach Holt and I, we love to talk, and we haven't gotten to every comment, and we hate that. I'm by myself. I promise you we will not only mention every comment, We will discuss every comment. We will break down every comment. We will analyze and give analysis on every comment. So get all your friends over, text them, do whatever you have to do. Get them over here to Dodgers Dawgs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network, and let's get a good conversation going about Dodgers baseball. Mike Lopez, I hope the Dodgers put a package deal for Elly De La Cruz. Shortstop, he's the same age as Sasaki. The Dodgers have the pieces in the farm and 40-man roster to make it happen. Yeah, to be honest with you, Mike, I'm all in putting Tommy Edman at shortstop. Why the heck not? And you can either see if James Outman or Andy Pages can figure it out in spring training again, especially if you re-sign Teo, right? Okay, so if Teo's your left fielder and Mookie Betts is back in right field, now you can – I would be more in line to put Tommy Edman at shortstop and then go find a center fielder. So that's kind of where I would go with that, because I love the way Tommy Edman plays. I like Andy Pages. I think James Outman is going to come back with a vengeance. He was a AAA All-Star this year. I know what everybody's going to say. He didn't perform this year. Yes, he didn't, and all that. I don't disagree. And then also, I think you could go out and get a tremendous outfielder as well. So I think you are right, though. The Dodgers definitely, Mike, they 100% do have the pieces on the farm and on the 40-man roster to make that happen. I just don't see where that's a total necessity. And, I mean, we see Elly De La Cruz. He is a great player, don't get me wrong, but we see him every now and then. We do not see him every day. And so, I mean, I can't really give you an opinion on the everyday aspect of things for him. But what I can give you an opinion on is that I absolutely love, 100% love. Of course, he had 259 this year. Elly De La Cruz did. I love Tommy Edman. And here's the thing about Elly De La Cruz. When you can run like he did, like he can, and you hit 259, of course, his OPS was 810. That's not bad. You can hit like Elly De La Cruz. When you hit 259, you can run like him. That tells me that there's some bat-to-ball skills that aren't great, right? Because to me, he's going to hit almost 200 just because of his speed, right? So I think he's probably adding less than 100 points to his average because of his contact skills, because of his bat-to-ball skills. I like the way Tommy Edman plays the game. I think you can go find a center fielder with a ton of speed. That I want another player in this lineup that is very similar to Tommy Edman, that puts the ball in play, that can bunt, that can play fundamental, especially you're going to bring back Max Muncy. If you go re-sign Teo, you already got two guys that are pretty much three true outcome type of guys. I think the one thing that would, I think it would be better for the lineup to add another dynamic player that can do a little bit more of everything at that point. But I don't think Dodgers fans would argue whatsoever if you got a De La Cruz. Not saying that, but I guess what I am saying is I would be totally fine if Tommy Edman was the starting shortstop for every game next year. Miguel Rojas goes back into a utility role. Mookie Betts is in right field. Gavin Lux at second base. You have Andy Pages, James Outman, and whatever free agent that you want to go get from there. I don't think that would be a bad situation there. Hey, Stefan, Dodgers farm always epic. Every team knows it. Yes, part of that, well, almost all of it is the way that they develop. Because, I mean, they always draft low, right? I mean, Dalton Rushing was like in the 40s, right? I mean, so, and they do a really great job in the international international signing period too. Talking about Diego Cartaya and Edgardo Henriquez and all these guys. There's a million different names that you go up and down the list with of international signings that the Dodgers do a great job with. And then guys like Manny Pimentel, the director of scouting in the DR, they do a great job of identifying these guys, getting them comfortable, and then getting them to the United States. And then once you get here, you got like guys like Austin Chubb that are great with them. Juan Apodaca, who is your manager at the complex, is just absolutely awesome with the international guys. Kevin LaChance, who's with them. And then they get to Shoemaker and Sean Coyne. And then here's another big deal. Ramon Troncoso, Tronky. You couldn't have a better guy at the single A level to work with your young international pitchers than him. And then obviously DA is just, he's elite at the single A level. And then Durna Linger and Ryan Dennick at the double A level are fantastic. And by the time you get to triple A, pretty much you're getting worked with by everybody in the organization because you're just one step away from the major leagues. So yes, the Dodgers have, they put more into their scouting and development than anybody else, and it pays off, no doubt. Another thing is all these coaches have worked together, so the handoffs are very seamless. Like when Edgardo Enriquez went from one level to the next, when he went from single A to high A, Ramon Troncoso and Sean Coyne, they got on the phone with David Anderson, the Great Lakes pitching coach, and they communicated where things are at, and they made that transition seamless. Then when he moved to double A, David Anderson, who knows Durna Linger very well, and Ryan Dennick very well, he got on the phone with them, made that transition very seamless. So it is a very impressive system to watch. Hey, Stefan, too bad about Vesia. We needed that lefty arm. Yeah, and you saw yesterday that Dave Roberts went with Blake Trinan instead of Anthony Bonda. So it's kind of the high school deal. I've got 3 or 4 guys that I trust, and if they are available, I'm going with them over everybody else. I'm not worried about hurting feelings. So Anthony Bonda was up last night. He was throwing. He got Blake Trinan chosen over him. So now he's available tonight. I don't think that was an indictment of, hey, Dave doesn't trust Anthony Bonda. I thought that was more so hey, he trusts Blake Trinan more than anybody else on the earth. So if I was Anthony Bonda, I would not have taken that as a slight whatsoever. Now, here's the question, kind of to Stefan's point here. If that was Alex Vesia out there instead of Anthony Bonda, would Blake Trinan have come in that situation, or would it have been Alex Vesia? So sometimes you have addition by subtraction, because when you don't have certain guys, a manager like Dave Roberts can only use his top 3 or 4 guys, and so they are the guys that are always pitching. And so by the time they're used up in the 7th or 8th inning, like we've said, the Dodgers are trying to win and they're trying to do it fast. You already have enough comfort in the lead toward the last couple of innings that are either thrown by an Edgardo Enriquez or a Ben Kasparius aren't very high leverage. So I think that philosophy has worked. Will it always work? Let's hope. You only need 5 more, right? And then everything works if your dudes that you bring in, like Evan Phillips, they're able to get out of jams. They're able to be the fireman. They're able to do those kinds of things. And then also when your offense continues to tack on. So if you want to be right as a manager in terms of your pitching moves, one of the best ways that can happen is that your offense continue to score from innings 5 through 9, because even if you do make a move that gives up a run or 2, people forget about it because you won the game by 5 runs, right? And that's what's happened with the Dodgers. They've continued to score. They've continued to add on. And so it just makes everything that much easier, and it makes everything look like it's working that much better. Hey, Stefan says yes, and they want to be a Dodger. I think I'm getting some Facebook messages right here. Let me get back to that and turn that off. If just give me a second right here, and I will get back to that and see what's going on here. Let me kill that right there. Okay. All right. So let's get back to our conversation here. Let me get back to the chat, and let me talk to you wonderful Dodgers dogs out there. Stefan, yes, and they want to be a Dodger. These up-and-comers, yes, very hungry. So I think also what you're seeing with this organization too, when your best players are also your hardest workers, yes, that's great, because that sets a stone for work. That sets a standard of work ethic that everybody's going to have to follow, right? So like as a manager or a high school coach, whatever level it may be, college coach, one of the tricks they use is they'll go to their best player and they'll go, hey, man, I tell you what, I'm going to be really hard on you. I'm going to raise my voice with you. And it's not because necessarily even in that moment I'm wanting to chew you out or anything. I'm setting a tone with everybody else here that, hey, that's our stud. That's our dude. And if he's willing to hold that guy that accountable, then I'll guarantee you he's going to hold me accountable the same way, right? And so when you have a guy, I say all that to say, when Shohei Ohtani is your hardest worker, I say that. I mean, everybody else works hard too, but nobody outworks him. Let's put it that way. So he sets your standard for work ethic. And then to Stefan's point here, beautiful point to be made, when he is hungry, I mean, did you see what he did after the home run last night? Yeah, the home run's great, and I still even say it, the 50-50 and all that was great to him. I promise you he would trade all of that for a World Series championship. So I really think as much as the wonderful contributions on the field of Shohei Ohtani, that's not enough. The Hall of Fame contributions of Shohei Ohtani on the field for the Dodgers this year, the contributions on the field unlike we've ever seen any human being ever to walk the earth be able to do offensively. Beyond all that, I'm getting ready to make a crazy statement. That hasn't been his best contribution to this Dodgers team. His best contribution has been the fact that he is so hungry to win that hunger, in my opinion, has turned a Dodgers roster with a lot of the same guys that in the past has been that Sunday afternoon, LA chill, cool guy type of mentality that us Dodgers fans have bitched and moaned about, rightfully so, by the way. To me, Shohei Ohtani's hunger has turned that chill mentality into a bunch of pit bulls, into a roster full of guys that have followed his lead and have become just as hungry as he is. Let me add another element to that. I think although Teo Hernandez is not hitting the ball well in the playoffs, I think the fact that he wanted to come to the Dodgers not for the money, he wanted to come to the Dodgers because he wanted to win. I think that brought also, yes, it brought a hunger, but what it brought was, hey, man, I'm here to win, guys. To hell with anything else. I just want to win. I don't care if I'm 0 for 9. I don't care who gets the credit. I'm here to win. I think that bottom line mentality of Teo Hernandez to where I'm not here for any other reason other than to win, right? I'm not here to make friends. I'm not here to have fun. I'm not here to win a hitting championship. I'm not here to win a home run championship. I am here to win. That's the only reason I'm here. That mentality, too, also sets a bottom line of a winning standard that makes it unacceptable to him to do anything other than win a World Series. I think also that bottom line mentality has bled off into the pit bull type of mentality we've seen from the Dodgers as well. So when you combine the hunger of Shohei Ohtani with the bottom line, I'm here to win mentality of Teo Hernandez, combined with the laser focus and kind of youthful exuberance and vibrance and excitement and fun of Yoshinobu Yamamoto, with the stabilizing effect of a Tommy Edman, and then also a stabilizing effect of a Jack Flaherty. And then also, hey, we're Dodgers fans. We love the Showtime Lakers, right? Michael Kopech is Showtime Lakers. When he takes the mound, it is Showtime Lakers. It's Magic Johnson with a no-look behind-the-back pass with a 102-mile-an-hour fastball. And not only are we winning, we're doing it with style with Michael Kopech on the mound, baby, right? So just more so than, yes, the talent, obviously, Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Tyler Glass, now Jack Flaherty, Tommy Edman, Teo Hernandez. That speaks for itself from a talent perspective, but then also just the fit. So the fit of Shohei Ohtani being hungry, the fit of Teo Hernandez having a bottom line of winning only, the fit of Jack Flaherty and Tommy Edman bringing stability, the fit of Tyler Glass now being a number one starter and providing that guy that can plow through a lineup and strike everybody out. I think as much as the talent Andrew Friedman found the fits of what the Dodgers needed, both physically on the field and then from a mentality perspective in the clubhouse. The clubhouse has always been a great culture, but I'm not sure it's been as cutthroat and bottom line, boys, we're here to win. Put your ego to the side. I don't give a rat's ass if I hurt your feelings. Anthony Bonda last night, when you don't come in, deal with it. We're moving on, right? Okay? I'm not sure the Dodgers have ever, and I'm not sure Dave's ever quite been that aggressive with that mentality as well. So, hey, those are kind of my thoughts. I know I went on a little bit longer of a ramble there on that, but I feel really strong about those kinds of things that we've seen with the Dodgers this year. Hey, Satoshi Nodopopo, Enriquez, Pages, Kasperius, Knack, I'm happy you're letting some of the rookies play in the playoffs, plus all the rookie pitchers we burned through, yes. And then also, you got Robleski, don't forget about him. You got Jackson Ferris coming. You got Bobby Miller, who I still think will absolutely recover. And then as you come down here, you got some relief guys that are being mentioned here in a Ronan Kopp and guys like that. You also have, don't forget the Maytag, Jack Dreyer, who is simply fantastic. I think Kevin Gowdy will eventually be in a bullpen for a major league team. We'll see if it's with the Dodgers. This is a very loaded lineup. And then also you have free agency as well. Hey, Mike Lopez says, I could see Max Fried taking a short-term deal to play alongside his friend and high school teammate Jack Flaherty. That would be simply fantastic. And Marv Larson says, I think the World Series starts on Tuesday. I think that depends on how long it goes. I'm not exactly sure on that. I could look that up. If I was a two-person show today, I could more easily look that up. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and do that, and I'll go ahead and type that. Now, as a matter of fact, let me lean on my chat here. Somebody look that up. No matter what, when is the latest date that the World Series would start? Satoshi Noto Popo, Pages 9th, Will Smith 8th, Monty 7th is a real tough bottom of the order. No doubt about that. Hey, Norm Lee, if the Dodgers can somehow jump on the Mets early like they've done, you suck the emotion from the stadium, then keep scoring to keep the emotion out. You get the Mets players counting outs. That's exactly right, Norm. Great point. We've talked about counting outs from the Dodgers' perspective. Hey, the other team's counting outs more than you do because every 3 outs you get, that's 3 outs less they have to play with, right? That's a great point there, Norm. That would be the quickest way to secure the game. Mike Lopez is talking about putting a package together for LA De La Cruz. We mentioned that just a little minute ago. Mike Lopez, we trust, and Jack of all trades. No doubt about that. Let me go to the bottom and work my way up. 1 week from today, says Monta Racer. That would be the latest that the World Series would start. Boy, time is flying. I love doing these shows. I love talking to you Dodgers dogs, and it seems like things just fly by. Yes, don't forget about Nick Frasso, also Kyle Hurt. They both went down this year. And then also River Ryan. And then you're going to get Dustin May back. Then you might get Roki Sasaki. You're going to get Tony Gonsolin back. Shohei Ohtani's going to pitch again next year. So if you're going to win a World Series with this roster, holy smokes, right? I mean, you're looking at a possible dynasty. But, again, let's not put the cart in front of the horse. The first thing you got to do is win tonight and make it to the World Series, literally one game at a time. Yeah, just an option. Says Tuesday, Frasso and May should be healthy next year too. I'm interested to see what they could get out of them in shorter outings. Nice to see Freddie get an extra day of rest on his ankle yesterday. That's from Sam. Yes, so the Dodgers are playing it every other day. Freddie plays, Freddie sits, Freddie plays, Freddie sits. So you sit out last night. There's your day off. Play today. Day off tomorrow with the travel day. So they're not wanting Freddie to play 2 days in a row. Hey, yes, Stefan Kopech is absolutely stone cold. Kali, today is a beautiful day. Flaherty is going to shove tonight, says Stefan. Mike Lopez says his best contribution has been financially. We have room to put a good product on the field every season, regardless of the dollars. Talking about Shohei Ohtani deferring all that money, no doubt about that. Kali says the Doyers are going to break records. Craig Osterberg, thank you so much for joining. They've been averaging 9 runs a game. Hope they can keep that up, no doubt. That's because they're scoring early, they're scoring in the middle of the game, and they're scoring late. Normally, without the eye-popping results, Ohtani Hunger would not have been as big of an impact in the clubhouse if he was having a bad year. I would agree with that, but still, I think if the Dodgers were still having a good year, I think you could have similar type results. Hey, Stefan says Trinan always wants the ball. No doubt about that, and I always want him to have the ball. Stefan, yes, 6 years in Halo's uniform will do that. Talking about Shohei Ohtani. Hey, Stefan says best postseason use of arms by Doc in the last 3 years. Totally agree, and a lot of that is because you're winning, and it's working, and guys are executing, and you're hitting, right? So, I mean, I wouldn't disagree that this is the best use, but I would also say that it's because you're not giving up 7 runs in the first inning like Clayton Kershaw did. You're not giving up 4 home runs like Lance did and Lynn did, and then you're scoring runs like Craig said, 9 runs a game, and all that's kind of going into making the decisions a little bit easier to execute for the guys, and because of that, it's making Doc look like he's right, which he is right. It's not making him look like he's right. He has been right on almost every single one of these seasons. How much better is our roster next year percentage-wise? Well, I just went over all the different pitchers. Nick Frasso, River Ryan, Kyle Hurt, Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin, Shohei Ohtani, possibly Roki Sasaki. That's 7 guys right there. All 7 of those guys can start, right? So absolutely substantially better. Now, obviously, are you going to sign Teo Hernandez? Is Tommy Edman going to be your shortstop or your center fielder? What do you do at shortstop? That kind of thing. That's why I'm in favor. Shortstop's a very difficult position to fill. Just put that little fart at shortstop. Tell him to play there every day. Hit 260. Be fundamental at the bottom of your lineup. And just be a baseball player. I am in total support of that. Mike Lopez, wait until you guys see the big 2 boys. These are the ones we're talking about. Ronan Kopp and Eric Karros. Yeah, Ronan Kopp, if he can harness his control, that's all about it for him. And then Eric Karros took a substantial length of time off this year, not because of injury, just because of arm fatigue. Eric Karros is Jared Karros, I'm sorry. Jared Karros is Eric Karros' son, 6'6", big spiked curveball, about 92 to 94, so he doesn't blow your doors off with velo, but he is that guy that executes. He sequences perfectly. He hits spots. He hits the outer part. He hits the top part, inside part. He is a master executor. So, yeah, big futures, no doubt about that, for both Ronan Kopp and Jared Karros. In-game success pumps up all the players, no doubt about it. Hey, Sam M says, we have much better RPs, too. We used to make Kenley pitch, relief pitchers. Talking about used to make Kenley pitch almost every game back in the day, and he would burn out. And plus, not stuck with using Evan Phillips or Blake Trinan in one single role. Been saying that all year. Allowing Doc to use Blake Trinan for what he considers to be the biggest 6 outs and not necessarily the last 3 outs. A lot of times those aren't the same thing. When you're talking about Evan Phillips and Blake Trinan getting 6 outs, that doesn't have to be the 8th and 9th inning. We have seen that in this playoffs, and Dave has pulled that trigger and played that game and identified. Here's what he's done. Dave has identified the biggest 6 outs of the game perfectly, and he has put his highest leverage guys in those situations. And going back to Stefan's point, that's why all these moves are working, because he has identified which are the 6 biggest outs of the game, and he has gone very, very aggressive against them. Did we sign Ferris, Casey? Flaherty. Ferris is in the minor league system. I think Jackson Ferris has a good chance of ETAing next year at the major league level. He finished this year in Double-A Tulsa. He was the minor league pitcher of the year in the Dodgers system. I wouldn't be shocked if he started in Tulsa. I wouldn't be shocked if he started in Oklahoma City. Either way, I don't care. Also, you have Justin Robleski on that list as well. Jackson Ferris, I think, has a good chance I think if I gave odds, I would give it well above 50% that Jackson Ferris pitches in the major leagues next year. So that's my take on him. Hey, we're at 4 o'clock. We're just about an hour away from the first pitch. Unless we have any more comments, I think that's going to do it for today's pregame. Austin's going to pick you up for the postgame tonight when the game's over. Oklahoma State plays BYU. I have an O-State Daily site as well. I have a lot to do on that site too. So going to hit that site as well. Going to be watching both the Dodgers game and the OSU-BYU game tonight, flipping back and forth. So Austin was kind enough just to take the post-game show and do that by himself as well. So, boy, we had another one of these wonderful crowds, and it was during a work day. And, boy, you Dodgers dogs came through because I was by myself, and you left a lot of great comments, and I had a ton of fun talking to all you Dodgers dogs out there. So, thank you for everybody for tuning in. And, hey, hopefully the Dodgers tonight can win that pennant. So, until next time, go Dodgers. It's a great